the folks over at the New York Times are absolutely flabbergasted that this is getting attention now, because as I listened to their podcast, The Daily, the other day, in discussing the bombshell developments that happened on Thursday, they were talking about how, when this first broke, like, who even knew that this could potentially be a thing? It just didn't even seem like a thing to us. Take a listen to these two.
And what this motion seems to claim is that if this alleged relationship and the benefit that it brings to Fani Willis can be proven, then this entire case should therefore be thrown out.
That's right. Although it's worth keeping in mind that a number of legal scholars have argued that even if all of these allegations were true, there's really no basis for this being construed as a conflict of interest, and that these prosecutors should stay on the case and it should be steady as she goes from here on out, that this is all a big distraction that has no legal merit.
So what you're saying is that no one's quite sure that, legally speaking, there's a real argument here to be made by Michael Roman. And if I'm remembering correctly, the feeling that a lot of people had when this motion was filed was that it was kind of a Hail Mary, right? And there was not much evidence that it was necessarily even true.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was a Hail Mary in the sense that Michael Roman's lawyer didn't include any evidence to back up her claim, this very salacious claim. So there was a moment there when nobody knew really what to make of it. It was a very uncomfortable moment.
Actually, just fact check for you, New York Times. Some of us knew exactly what to make of it if you just have an open mind when it comes to anything involving Donald Trump. I refer you back to our own coverage. The same day this all broke, watch. The case against Trump in Georgia, I'm not sure the case itself is going to go away, but the prosecutor might be. She's in a whole lot of trouble herself and could potentially even be facing criminal charges herself. 100% right. And those of us who can see the law clearly understood this was a massive potential ethical violation by these two right from the start. All the BS spin at the beginning of that clip about how most legal experts say there's no basis to get rid of them, to throw them. That's absolutely not true either. The Atlanta Journal-Constitution broke the case, broke the story, and cited Stephen Gillers, who's the god of legal ethics. He's written the textbook that we all study. And in that first article, Stephen Gillers said, if any of this is true, she's in a deep, deep seat of trouble and could get thrown off the case. So the revisionist media coverage of it, Charlie, just yet another reminder of how important the lane you and I are in has become for anybody wanting actual honest information.
Yeah, a couple thoughts. First, that's the #1 podcast out there. And so it's not just some fringe thing. It does very, very well. It always almost near the top of the podcast charts. Number two, I just laugh when, grown men talk like 15-year-old girls with their up inflection of their voice. We don't really know if they're guilty or in. It's like, it just drives me crazy. It's like that's central casting for Upper East Side metrosexual New York Times podcast host. Anyway, I'll put that aside. So it just drives me crazy. But hold on. Did they even address the lying about the start date of the relationship? That alone is perjury. I mean, before we even get into some of
disgruntled. The woman who testified that it started early, she was disgruntled. Haven't you heard that, Charlie?
Oh yeah, that's their new spin. And then but under oath, she said something completely different. So you zero in on that. But I have a 6-point list I want to go through here, Megyn. I think it's really important. And I know you covered this in great detail. And this is from Josh McCoon, who is the chairman of the Georgia Republican Party. Number one, here's no longer in dispute. Willis awarded a no-bid contract for legal services to Wade. That is true. We know that to be true. Number two, Wade engaged in a sexual relationship with Willis while he was submitting bills to her as a vendor that were paid without question, including an invoice for 24 hours of billable time in a single day. Number three, Wade and Willis kept this relationship secret to the point of Wade lying in response to questions submitted in his divorce proceeding to keep the relationship secret. Number four, Wade filed for divorce from his wife within 24 hours of receiving the no-bid contract from Willis. Yep. Divorce contract. Number five, Wade paid for multiple lavish vacations that Willis took with him. And number six, there is no documentation that Willis was ever reimbursed for him for any of these vacations. And hilariously, Megyn, one final thought. I joked with my team when they were testifying. I said, they're going to say that they were paid in cash just because that's just what liars do. And
lo and behold,
maybe they were, Megyn, but I don't think so. I don't think that Fani Willis has thousands of dollars in cash and that we're supposed to believe that there was a reimbursement. By the way, there's no withdrawal bank records. There's no deposit bank records. So not looking good.
And there's a $5,000 lien
criminalization
against her.
of Georgia.
A $5,000 lien against her at the time she's allegedly doling out thousands to Nathan Wade. She just happens to have it sitting around her house. Did her daddy tell her that it's important to pay your bills, that it's not good for a sitting DA to have a lien against her? I missed that part of the daddy's testimony. Here she is again back at the church this past Sunday with yet another message about how hard it is to be her as they awarded her at the Atlanta church the Black History Achievement Award. Watch.
There are things going on recently that I won't talk about, but everybody did not embrace me during those times, and Berean has continued to embrace me. You know, people keep sending me scriptures, and I appreciate those scriptures, but the scripture they keep sending me is, "No weapon formed against you shall prosper." I need y'all to hear me, though. They did not say the weapons will not form. The other lesson that I've learned in this 3 years is God ordains those weapons. He puts those weapons in your life to form against you. And if you really understand him, you become in your maturity to understand he does it for a reason. And it's to grow you, and it's to make you stronger, and it is to prepare you. This is a really hard job I'm trying to do. And I am an imperfect human being, but I can literally feel the people who loves me's prayers.
Okay, it's really hard to be a DA, Charlie. Newsflash, very hard to be a DA. She's just doing the best she can in stooping the special counsel she brought in to go after the president of the United States, former.
Yeah. So first of all, her theology is all screwed up. I'm not going to get into that, but I mean, that's just, you know, that's just so perverted and twisted and wrong. And let's just not forget, Nathan Wade was technically married when this affair was ongoing. Okay.
And
so
yeah, the whole time.
So let's just be careful, you know, talking about how no weapon formed against you. Maybe you've got to get your sexual ethics into gear, Fani Willis, before you start to play the victim. Anyway, but here's what I think is so interesting is the audience applauding. And she's trying to turn this into kind of like a base community organizing type issue. Last time she was at the church, she was playing on outward racial undertones. You know, how hard is it for, you know, a black woman to do her job type thing. I'm paraphrasing, Megyn, but you remember that was essentially.
Yeah. She was like, they were the ones who played the race card, not me.
Yeah. And again, this is what's so fascinating about this and why I think she will eventually be taken off the case if we have any sort of form of rule of law. And the judge was also not showing a great deal of sympathy for her, just based on his motions and his tone and just how he was allowing certain line of questioning to continue. But that remains to be seen. But remember this. The New York Times, which you played their podcast earlier, they had a full spread profile piece on Fani Willis last summer. She was supposed to be the one. She was supposed to be the one that could have the rock star. She was supposed to be the new Stacey Abrams. It just turns out that, I don't know, they're kind of 0 for 2 so far at trying to pick these heroines out of Georgia. She was supposed to be the one that was going to bring down Trump, because there are certain elements of this case that are different than the Jack Smith case and the Alvin Bragg case. Number one, the Alvin Bragg case is so legally flawed. It's a joke. There's really nothing to it. The Jack Smith stuff, if Trump were to win, he could get pardoned eventually, it's all under federal statute. And also there's jurisdictional issues, and federal court takes forever, and there's appeal in the Supreme Court. Georgia had a couple elements that made it unique. Number one, mandatory prison time. Number two, it wasn't clear whether or not he could be pardoned. Probably not, because it was a state-based type crime, indictment. And number three is that there was a drumbeat of quote-unquote co-conspirators that were pleading guilty. And that makes it hard to overcome as a defendant if all of a sudden 10 other people plead guilty and they all point fingers at you. It just, no matter what you're accused of, it makes it hard. Now all of a sudden with Fani Willis being put on defense, regardless of how they proceed, even if she remains, is anyone going to take anything that comes out of this case seriously? Of course not. They're going to look at her as a corrupt district attorney that had sweetheart no bid contracts, legal services to her lover. And the final element of this, Megyn, that I think is being lost, but we don't yet know the extent of it. Remember, on the invoice that Nathan Wade submitted, he was communicating with the Biden White House counsel's office. We don't know the details of that conversation. We don't know to the extent of what he was talking to the Biden White House counsel office about. But we know that he had 24 billable hours to the executive branch's basically legal representation. Did Biden know? According to Newt Gingrich, someone from Washington, D.C., pushed Fani Willis to put forward this indictment. But this is falling apart, and now the media is like, oh, well, we never thought it was that big of a deal. Why are you picking on poor Fani? She was built up to be the one to bring down Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm. The official line is that, well, sometimes a local prosecutor might consult with the White House if they've already done an investigation, like the January 6th committee, they talk to them. Sometimes they would consult with a committee that done a bunch of legwork so that they didn't have to repeat the legwork. So it could have been totally innocent. Well, you know, we also see, if you're going to account for that, let's also account for the reports. I think it was in Politico last week that Joe Biden privately is very angry at Merrick Garland, not just because of the special counsel Hur's report saying he's a well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory, but also because Merrick Garland did not put pedal to the metal on these prosecutions, did not lean harder on the DAs around the country to make sure that Trump had a conviction prior to the election, right? So why should we believe that there wasn't improper coordination between the Biden White House and Fani Willis when we know the president himself, according to this article, is grumbling behind the scenes that Merrick Garland should be fired potentially because he didn't fast roll all of these things. He wanted his opponent with the big C conviction prior to November. The Megyn Kelly Show is supported by Grand Canyon University. Founded in 1949, GCU is a private Christian university that's dedicated to delivering an affordable and transformative higher education. Their vibrant campus is located in beautiful Phoenix, Arizona, and according to niche.com, ranked a top 25 best campus in the country. As of June 2023, GCU offers 330 academic programs with over 270 of them online, allowing you the freedom to earn your degree on your time from wherever you are. At GCU, your degree, whether it's a bachelor's, master's, or doctorate, integrates the free market system and a welcoming Christian worldview. Learn more about GCU's programs, competitive tuition rates, and scholarship offers from your university counselor. They are part of the supportive graduation team who takes a personalized approach to helping you achieve your academic goals, walking alongside you every step of the way. Find your purpose at Grand Canyon University. Private, Christian, affordable. For more info or to enroll, visit gcu.edu. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.